Hi, welcome to another edition of our People First interview series, where we shine a light on great companies that not only do interesting and cool work, but most importantly, look after their people. Identifi Global is a market leader in personalized career management and talent acquisition, specializing in the legal tech and legal services market with great candidate experience guaranteed. Check out identifiglobal.com for more information on the roles we cover and our latest jobs. This week, I'm honored to be joined by Gary Gallen, CEO and founder of RRADAR. RRADAR is a specialist litigation and commercial law firm that uses legal expertise and digital tools to proactively manage, advise, and deliver business solutions that reduce legal risk. Hi, Gary. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you very much, Pete. Full of mischief and stubbornness.
Good stuff. Thanks for coming on. Really glad to have you on and talking to you today. First and foremost, where are you in the world? Tell us a bit about yourself, Gary.
Well, in the world, I'm up in the northeast of England at the moment. In our offices just on the outskirts of Hull. Okay. Home is a little bit further north, closer to York. But yes, firmly and fiercely northern. Actually in the office today, taking my stint, doing a little bit of the reception work for the deliveries and the necessaries and what have you, and some of the crucial work. So it's not often that you're able to actually get in for some of those roles. So it's nice for the change every now and again.
CEO on reception, eh? That's a first. I've not heard that before.
I suppose I've done it a few times, even before COVID, and there was nothing, I suppose, that I don't mind doing. And some of my jobs when I was a young student, paying my way through, I worked as receptionist, glass collector, barman, opening and closing market stalls. So it keeps you nice and grounded.
Absolutely. So before we get into RRADAR and what that's all about, tell us, what do you do when you're not running a successful legal tech firm? What's behind that?
Well, there's two things, I suppose, and there's a consistency of both. I've got three fantastic children. One of those children, Dan, has got some quite complex and some special needs about him. Okay. So he's had some difficulties, which has meant a lot of focus, a lot of attention. Hospitals, Great Ormond Street, special educational needs, all sorts of stuff like that. So making sure that he can have the best opportunities that life can bring him, accessing information, that thing. And I've got two of the most ambitious, forward-thinking and strong-willed girls on the planet. I pity the boyfriends. So if it's not trying to indulge myself with learning for the job, I'm a lawyer by trade. But what I found in my career was, as a litigator, with a focus on criminal regulatory risk, I found my first roles in law actually being prosecuting and defending in the courts was very much dealing with when things had gone wrong. Human nature, in some cases at its worst, in murder cases and corruption and things like that, or companies that were in trouble and before the court and not really understanding why and how little they knew about compliance and regulations. So rather than fixing things from the back and helping people navigate things when it was crisis and at its worst, actually when you've done that for a number of years, you recognise, or I recognise, you've got an incredible amount of knowledge about trend and pattern and frequency, psychology, human behaviour, and why people are coming for you to fix things once it's gone wrong and get them great results. But isn't really the challenge to lift that knowledge up and move it as upstream as you possibly can to start actually demystifying legal services, taking away regulation and compliance complexity and showing people how to get it right the first time. So as a lawyer, that was my focus. I got a little bit frustrated with legal professional firms and being part of them. And I was an equity partner in one of the biggest firms on the planet. And I started to think, actually, the clients like my outlier, more disruptive methodology of actually teaching them and training them and showing them not to have to use lawyers. That doesn't go down very well when you've got several hundred partners that are working a different model. So for me, it was just glorious freedom and exciting to resign and leave and back yourself to go and talk to the clients on your own terms in the way that I want to. So to be more of an educator and more of a teacher. And I've always been a nerd for the tech. So it meant that I could also have another love of my life, which was trying to find ways to solve problems, but use technology to do it smarter, faster, better, more effectively for people as well. So I'm really playing with things that I like doing, actually, Pete. It doesn't feel like work. I'm one of the lucky people that's found what I like to do.
Fantastic. I mean, you mentioned it there, you know, you've come from a legal background and, you know, having, you know, worked across many clients in the legal tech space, you know, it's quite unique. You know, it's people come from the legal industry into the legal tech, which is really unique in the tech world, you know. So what was that like for you, you know, moving from, you know, the big corporate world, if you like, not that it isn't corporate now, but, you know, that sort of legal professional services environment into a startup and beyond? And have you brought any of that with you? Is there things that you've liked or how have you gone about changing that?
Well, that's a very good question. There's a lot to unpack there, Pete, but if I try, I probably have to go a little bit back earlier. And ironically, I would probably subscribe to the fact that I learned the law because I didn't like being told what to do.
Oh, okay.
And my dad's been dead a long time, long before I became a lawyer, you know, had kids, etc. So long time passed. And I liked rugby, I liked sports, but I had a love of books, I had a love of sci-fi and things like that. And so I always, my head in the stars, liked my Lego, building, playing, creative, that side of me. But I was a bit of a maverick and I didn't like being told what to do. And if someone says you can't do that, my answer was, why? And I suppose I didn't intend to go into big law and corporate law. I sort of stumbled that way. But what I do like is taking puzzles to pieces. I do like looking at problems and focusing on outcomes and solutions. And when I started thinking more and more about the law, in fact, a bump that I had as a young man was my dad got very ill, cancer, etc. Had some strokes, lost faculties. Actually, he was trying to run a small business to look after us as a family, etc. And his business partner took advantage of his incapacity, left, and we left everything, and we ended up bailiffs at the door and problems and that sort of thing. So my first bump, I suppose, with the rules was not them working in your favour, and people trying to use them to sort of like hurt the family. So I stood up to that, and that's where I suppose I didn't do O-level law, A-level law and things like that back in the day, but I thought it's a great career. And through sport, to play great at sport, and I really, really enjoyed my sports, you need to know the rules of the game. So I suppose I thought it can't hurt me to have a legal qualification, and I can do all sorts of things with it. So that's what led me into the legal path. And I didn't go straight into big law. I actually did prosecution work, high street work, became an equity partner with a couple of partners in a high street practice in Scunthorpe in the north of England. But I think it was my recognition that the law tells you what you can't do. It doesn't tell you what you can do and how to be successful. So rather than looking at it from the negative, I was always looking at what's not on the page. What does it say you can't do? Because the law's there to stop you doing bad things. Well, then basically everything else is permissible.
Yeah.
And that was my approach. So I started then working and talking with clients and people. I was saying, don't focus on the law because it's trying to stop you do the harm. Explain to me what it is, what you're trying to do, and I'll give you the roadmap and the tools to actually go and do the good stuff. And then you can stop focusing on it because that's not really your issue.
Yeah.
So unless you tell me you want to commit a crime, you're focusing on the wrong thing. And that's what I mean about psychology and behavior. So I've always liked people. Yeah. And there's no bigger adrenaline rush where somebody feels that they've got an incredible problem. It's insurmountable. They don't know how to tackle it. And if you can show them the way forward and you can actually move them to a position where, oh, I can grow, I can achieve, I can do something, that is a great feeling.
Yeah.
So that's motivated me from a young age, being bumped, saw the law working badly for your own family, etc. Not quite knowing what to do, but knew it'd be a great challenge, and there's nothing like a good argument. And I learned the rules. And then from there, I've been trying to reshape them, remold them, reframe them and use them a different way and move people's thinking to the positive rather than focusing on the negative, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. I mean, that comes through a lot. And, what I'm getting from you is that education piece. And, that seems to be quite unique. Certainly from my experiences with legal services organization, it's, they're almost harnessing that knowledge and that's what you pay for, right? But you seem to be coming at it from a slightly different angle, by educating your people to help them do it better, do it easier in the future. Is that right? Or am I getting that wrong?
No, I would hope that comes across. I'm pleased that that's picked up. And I read a book quite some time ago. I'm a big reader. I do like to learn. I like the quote very much. The more you read, the more you learn, the more you realise you don't know.
Yeah.
And I think it was Mark Twain that said, if you've got the ability to read and you don't use it, you might as well be a plant. So you have some gifts, you have some abilities, don't take them for granted, use them, nourish your brain as much as you lift weights up to try and physically be well. Yeah. So I've never been frightened of learning. I'd actually been more frightened of not learning and not trying to find things out. So that is a big part of me. And I suppose, again, a little bit back from the youth, I can remember being steelworks of Scunthorpe, dad a labourer, Irish immigrant, this, that, and the other, the old paddy jokes, all that kind of the past. And I can remember looking around and think, I don't want to be covered in soap. I don't want to, that. And there's got to be better. There's got to be more. And I can remember as a kid going and watching Star Wars, and that blew my mind. And, George Lucas, the movie and things like that. So anybody that I work with, will tell you, bringing the balance, using the Force, Luke, Jedi lawyers and all that sort of thing is there. and things like reading the old Jack and Ori stories when they used to be on for kids after school, when there was only a couple of channels and things like that, starting, Tolkien and The Hobbit, that sort of thing. And it just nourished my brain and thought, bricks and steel work, or there's nothing stopping you dreaming, aspiring and going on and what have you. So my head was always about the future and what you can do. Yeah. So I hope that from instilled as that young kid and thinking there's got to be more to life, there's got to be more opportunity, I want to travel, I want to learn and explore, I brought it to the law. And also when I looked at the law and I started to learn it, I recognised I'm pretty good with patterns and numbers and things. So I actually recognised very, very quickly that the law follows frequencies and patterns. And then actually so do the courts. There's rules, there's a rhythm to it. It's like music. Yeah, and when I hear things and when I study things or what have you, I see colours a lot. And things, I can colour code things very much in my brain. And so I started to recognise that legislation has a code. The legislature isn't clever enough to create completely new concepts of law every time it passes legislation, so it all follows a formula. And I got very good at being able to look at a piece of legislation and taking 95% of it away and actually looking at the things that creates motivations for humans to have to do something. Yeah, the behavioural change elements, the ones where there is a sanction, a consequence, a penalty if you do not do something a particular way. And so you can very quickly look at the bit that's above the water, which is you cannot do this. Yeah. Then the bit that's under the water, that he's there and he's going to hit you and sink you, is if you do that, you're going to go to prison. Yeah. We're going to fine you. We'll take your home off your company and all that sort of thing. But actually the third bit that people don't focus on, it also then tells you exactly what the defence is and what to do to not break the law and have the penalty. So if you actually inverted it and looked at it from the back, you can see very much that it's only the bits that tell people they've got to behave a particular way and do something. And it's there because it's going to create harm and it's going to do something bad, where you can move psychologically to look at habit, behavior, and talk to people about, but if you approached your business problem this way and looked at designing your workflow, your recruitment, whatever the problem area is, HR, health and safety, environmental or data protection, you looked at your business outcome, which is success, brand, reputation, money, income, client-centric journey, etc., efficient standards, etc. I just start to align law and regulation to a business outcome that just gives them some rails to move along, so that the risk managing, building and creating, proving to people that they know how to behave and that they're doing it the right way, and then just focus on the business outcomes and goals. So that is where profession, going back to a book I read a long time ago, the original professions were medicine, religion, and law. Right. And you could say that medicine and religion are still pretty open, pretty accessible, and they profess their knowledge and they try to teach and educate better human behaviours and ways of living your life. Law took a bit of a swerve, and it started to only profess and share its knowledge if there was large invoices attached to it. And it's slightly detoured. I suppose in some respects, I remember that book and I thought, well, professing your knowledge is a good thing. Educating, teaching and helping is important. And unfortunately, through schools and things like that, we don't teach people the rules of life, the rules of business, compliance, regulation, codes, financial conduct authority, serious fraud, office bribery, corruption, all of these things that hit your business, cookie, Brexit, etc. Nobody's teaching young entrepreneurs, risk takers and people those skills. Yeah. So I've made it a little bit of a mission. We will. Yeah, because if you don't, then people don't know what they don't know and they get into trouble just because nobody's professing and nobody's properly helping and ensuring. So that is the mission. And what I found in life, Pete, is the more you help and the more you share, actually, when those people have got a problem and they do want to ask somebody to do a job of work for them, they're more likely to come to the person that's shared and supported and has been helpful, rather than gatekeeping your knowledge and only letting it out if you paid very large fees.
Yeah, absolutely. Rather than selling on the fear aspect, right? Which is a lot of companies have done over time. They sell on the fear, you know, that you go to them when there's a problem, as opposed, and it's out of, you know, you have to do it, as opposed to saying, actually, I want to do things better. I want to, you know, I want my business to go in this direction. How do we get there without making mistakes? You know, and if you've helped them along the way, they're going to use your services, you know, more often and probably spend more with you in the long run anyway. So,
well, there's always a way. There's always a way. And so I don't like the phrase "you can't." It's like I've got a pet hate as well about these people that talk about fail fast, fail fast. What a load of rubbish. It's just learning. Learn fast. Yeah. So what I look for people is, have you got a willingness to learn? And can you learn fast? And can you actually, if you've learned to do something one way, can you actually unlearn? And are you willing to learn how to do it another way? So as the world moves, as communication, as technology, as platforms, as AI and these new things come out, can you move with those times and accept that you did things an old, more manual, longer, particular way, which wasn't wrong for its time? But are you willing to unlearn it that way and not hold on to the past needlessly, and be willing to embrace that there's new tools and new opportunity and learn to do those tasks again, smarter, faster, better? If you ignore technology, if you ignore change, if you ignore new business models, it's ignorance that kills. And, you know, Darwin gets misquoted quite a lot, where it says, yeah, survival of the fittest. No, it's the survival of the people that learn and adapt. Yeah. And so that's the natural thing, the natural state, evolution. So I'm a big believer in that and not standing still.
So how, if as you know, that is obviously one of the leading purposes of your business, not the only, but you know, it's a leading purpose for sure. How do you resonate that down into your people, and perhaps you can give us an idea of some of your biggest people challenges that you've been facing, you know, even you know, certainly over the last 12 months and you know, going forward perhaps.
I think it's all about people. If anybody tells you running a business is anything other than about running people, then I think they're getting you wrong. Yeah. And so it's a great question, and I keep on learning different skills in and around people and management. So I suppose I'm the sole founder of RRADAR. Mm-hmm. It was born out of my frustration, my history, my background, and I suppose that stubbornness, where people said, you can't do it that way, you can't do it that just makes me say, there's got to be a way, there's got to be an alternative, you've got to go over it, round it, under it, or even through it, as Michael Jordan said, who's another of my great heroes. And so I think I've had to, over time, be less boisterous and try to be less overpowering. But I think people do look to the person that's leading them to be confident. Yeah, so I've never been accused of having a lack of confidence, but I've had to learn how to temper it. I can remember in my young firebrand early court case career days doing a trial, and the judge ruled against my client, my case, and I thought that's just not right. So I started to challenge openly the judge's ruling, the guilty ruling. To which I can remember looking at the look on the judge's face, thinking, "This has never happened to me before. This you young upstart lawyer from the north of England." And he simply says, "Mr. Gallen, this decision has gone against you, and you have to accept that that is the case. But there are ways to challenge it, and there are things to learn. So I suggest you go back, but that is the decision today." I thought, right, okay. And I learned a lot from that. I did appeal the decision and won on appeal, but I took the point away. And so listen more.
Okay.
So I tried to be a better listener. And the people challenges I think that I've encountered running and working in RRADAR, recruiting different people, is also that nobody believed this business could be built using technology, an educational approach, taking lawyers, insurance, risk management, and trying to put that all under one roof to deliver business-focused solutions and bring multiple discipline areas together. So that was where the stubbornness came in, which is part of the confidence, I think. If you believe in something, you have to really believe in something. And people can tell when that's manufactured and when you just say something, or actually whether the belief and the faith and the passion is really there. And I think running a company, you've got to accept that stuff is not going to go to plan. Pandemics will occur. Devolution, referendums and Brexits and other things will come. So have an open mind about challenge, yeah, and that the road to running a business success is up, down, backwards, forwards, etc. 1 step back, 3 steps back. Challenge, moving the goalposts, etc. are going to constantly occur. So recognizing all of that I need to be prepared for that, not to be overly stubborn, over exuberantly confident, but people, as I say, I think we underestimate too many people, that they can tell whether somebody genuinely believes, is genuinely speaking. And I think there's an authenticity that you also need to have with your confidence and stubbornness. But recognizing that how you affect others has been one of the most important things for me to learn as well. And when nobody would believe in this business and everybody turned me down for finance, so that you're also remortgaging your home, putting all of your life's earnings in it, selling the car, cashing the pension, masking the credit cards. That's where that faith, passion and stubbornness for yourself, as much as the people that you're trying to work with, build a business with, sell your products to, is important. But also recognizing that you can only recruit certain people at certain stages of the journey. With certain more generic skill sets rather than focused skill sets, etc. And that business, to be successful, is going to move and change and scale, work with people in different markets who want different pace, etc. and behaviours for you, so that you're going to have to recruit different people at different stages and be moving the goalposts and go from a little bit of chaos, that uncertainty, which doesn't bother me, and I can actually thrive, and I can envision things and then work and move to them to make them happen. Not that frightens lots of other people to death. So I think the things that I've learned is I like people, I like solving things. I've got a stubbornness, a belief and a confidence. I've got a passion and a drive. Recognize that can frighten some people, overpower some people, stop some people talking. But recruit as well as you can at each stage of the business, recognizing some will stay for a long time, some a medium time, some not very long at all. That some people will come and join thinking that a fast-moving growth business is for them and they won't change, when in fact it's not. And they're completely out of the depth, and that you need to have a conversation, they need to go. And that's good for them as much as it's good for you. Trying to keep something that's clearly clanking is not good. But be fixed on your vision. And no matter what's going to come at you, you've got to be fixed on that vision, and you've not got to let anything get in the way of it. So if you take all that in the mix, when the pandemic came, it was great for me to be on reception, walk around the business, see the people. I like when I am in the business rather than working with suppliers, doing the sales and marketing, which has been a lot of me on the founder. That I like to be visible, and I like to see and talk to the people. And you picked up so much working on the ground with the teams. So I have got an office, but largely didn't use it. It ended up being more storage than anything else because I liked to actually sat with the teams.
Yeah.
And you would blend in. And before you knew it, you knew 15 different things that was happening in the company because you were just there having the coffee, having the chat, working on the screen, involved in the business and walking around.
Yeah.
So being visible as a CEO was important. I've missed that a lot. I've missed the client interaction and the workshops, and also the challenge of building a multidisciplinary team. So you've got people that have been judges, people that have been barristers, solicitors practicing. You've got former police officers, you've got technologists, you've got multimedia, you've got academics and teachers, you've got the admin and the support staff, the receptionists, all of the vital ingredients of running the business, a multidisciplinary team. It has been interesting and difficult for me to be a leader doing it purely through a screen, purely through a phone call, recruiting and connecting all of those diversities of ethnicity, gender, location, knowledge types. So I've been learning all sorts of new ways to adapt to still make sure that that stubbornness and the confidence and the vision of the business moves. But you're now recruiting people whilst the cat's walking across the screen. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Whilst, you know, the DPD guy's trying to deliver something to the house, whilst the wife's ironing. And I've seen some incredible sights of, you know, somebody barely dressed coming out of the shower, walking behind, you know, a team member that you're having a chat to, and the husband walks past not recognising that she's already on screen first in the morning. But I think that clash of personal, family and professional lives has brought as much good as it has the negative, and you can tell I focus on the positives, but I think we've been good to each other. The teams talk well to each other. Games for the kids, colouring in books to try and help, regular communication.
I was going to
say, the final bit before I shut up at this point, Pete, would be...
Sorry?
The final bit before I shut up, I suppose, at this bit, you gave me a lot to think about, I suppose, in the way you teed up the question, is I've been able to recruit some absolutely fantastic people that joined us, in fact, just before the pandemic. So Sarah Blanchfield, our people director, came in, fantastic credentials, first HR people director within the business for the size and scale that we'd got to. And she and her skill set and her openness and her transparency to work with the staff, she quickly joined this business, recognised the direction of travel, what we're trying to achieve, adapted to the pandemic, and then has been invaluable talking to the people in the business. Ruth Turner came in as our finance director, our first strategic top-line finance director, rather than a senior finance head running the business, more internally within the business, actually looking at the growth and the going forward to help me as the CEO significantly. And again, she landed 10 seconds before the pandemic hit. But running the finances, the billing, the systems, the processes, the adaptations. So we'd got to a size and a scale, I suppose, where we were now fully aware we have these roles, these responsibilities, these requirements for the job, these cultural behaviours that the business has got to hear. We could actually go out and, with the firepower in the business and the profits, etc., recruit and bring in exactly the kind of skill sets, characters and what have you. So some of that earlier journey I referenced was you recruit what you can when you can to do 15 jobs.
Yeah.
So we'd moved through the gears, but I am extremely thankful, you know, Rob Crossland, first non-exec director on the technical focus, etc. But bringing those great leaders in to give more senior bandwidth, more focused disciplines and specialists in key areas of the business, I can't underestimate just how brilliant the boys and girls and the multidisciplinary staff that we had also adapted to that change and worked with those new leaders so that actually we grew and we're expanding and looking at going forward still. Yeah. And that's all people. Yeah, that's not the tech, that's not any, you know, it's not the homes, it's not a desk at their house or anything. We did all of those things for them, but that was actually the attitude and the belief and the passion of those people. Never dropped the ball, never changed productivity levels. And actually, when our clients were ringing us more, emailing us more, because they were uncertain, they had a lack of confidence, they were unsure how to change their business models,
Okay.
Actually, we had an exponential growth in how many people rang us, emailed us, download our tools, wanted to follow our roadmaps, use our technology. So I think that leadership team undoubtedly helped facilitate it, but the boys and girls we had in the business and the ones that we've recruited that have come in have been exemplary. And that's the proudest thing that you can have, to be honest.
You've touched on it a bit in that there around the sort of diversity and inclusion and the unique nature of the people that you've got. I mean, you know, this, you know, obviously it's reached new prominence, you know, in the market, you know, with lots of, you know, Black Lives Matter and, you know, more women in the board and, you know, and you know about it firsthand around your neurodiversity, as you know, I do as well. So, you know, what successes have you had at RRADAR in this area? I mean, you mentioned a few of your sort of senior female leaders, and perhaps maybe you could give us an overview of your approach to recruitment and how you handle that, because I know that you know, it's a subject that's close to your heart, and you know, you've got some fantastic senior leaders in your business, you know, of all you know, of all walks of life. So perhaps you could give us an insight into that.
Sure. Well, for me, I hate bullies. I hate bias. I suppose with that background in the law and courtrooms and things like that, and seeing those bad behaviours and what that results is, and the harm and the loss of life, you know, extremes it can cause. So I really know what I don't like. And I suppose in some of the firms that I've been in as a lawyer, I saw behaviours that I didn't like. So I'm one of those, I suppose, I've never been absolutely crystal clear and detailed in writing every step of the way of my life and what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it when, like some people. But I've definitely seen lots of things that I know I don't like and I'm 100% against, and I wanted to be part of a business that did not do. So I was given some great chances. I worked hard, but when, you know, the international law firm I went to as the equity partner, I can remember several of them saying, "You'll be the only equity partner in this firm from Scunthorpe in the firm's history." You know, why say that? Yeah. Doesn't matter, does it? Yeah. If you're good enough, you're good enough. Yeah. If you want to achieve, you should be allowed to achieve. And so I suppose a healthy dose of that stubbornness and character came across to RRADAR. And if it's your money, if it's your remortgage, etc., there's no fetters on your recruitment policy and who can come in. And I know Hull, Humber, Lincolnshire, Scunthorpe, this region, everybody says, "Oh, you'll never be able to find talented and great people that will be willing to work for an up and company there." Well, do you know what? Yes, we have. Yeah, we've attracted fantastic talent. And so to me, it doesn't matter the gender, it doesn't matter the age, it doesn't matter the ethnicity, it doesn't matter about disability. If you're good enough, you're good enough and you can have a chance. And I suppose with that openness of character and attitude, and it was only me doing the recruiting, then it started that way. But what I am proud of, the people that have come into the business have continued to recruit that way. Yeah. And I think I'd have to be careful with the statistics at the moment, but the last ones that I saw towards the end of last year, I think we're about 60, slightly over 60% female. Yeah. And that's from the boardroom. So 3 of our main strategic board directors are female, leaving two males. And we have, as I say, across all ranges of the business, different ethnicity, different age groups, etc. And I think one of the reasons that holds us together and we're better as a service is that multicultural thought, approach, communication, skills, etc. And it's fair to say I did grow up, and as I was starting my career, it was more white, middle-aged, male-dominated. Yeah. And again, that's one of those things that I wanted to thought, yeah, I'm not that. I like other thought. I want challenge. Yeah. I want people with different background and experience makes a better whole, I think. Yeah. And I don't do much of the interviewing, as you can imagine, anymore. We've got Birmingham, we've got Glasgow, we've got Leeds, etc. And we're building out different teams. But I'm proud to say that the people come into the business and they're as open to ability and location as anybody else. And so I think the pandemic's going, we were already quite flexi working. We go where the clients are, where court cases are, problems, this, that and the other. So it's not a desk-based business. So we were clean on the technology, cloud-based, open architecture, etc. So we were able to swap pretty quickly. But I think what it is going to mean is that when people are in their offices, it's for purpose, it's for communication, it's for learning, it's for workshops, it's for working with the clients and getting back to that sort of thing again. So there's a good open culture, I think. And the advocates that are in the business that I trust with the recruiting are following the same suit. You can clearly see that when I look at the list of the new people that are coming in. There's no narrow fields, no wide spectrum.
I mean, it's simple when you put it like that, you know, and it starts with, you know, in all of these organizations, it starts with that wanting to achieve that, you know, rather than just trying to tick some boxes and you know, fill out, you know, your quota and you know, you know, I love that phrase, you know, if you're good enough, right? And if you can do the job that we need you to do, then what does it really matter? So, I mean, you know, it's fantastic, and actually, you know, I guess it rises the importance of that diversity to create those opportunities. And actually, it doesn't matter. It's about doing the job. If you can do the job, who cares who the person is? So, I mean, on that note, I mean, and you've touched on sort of move. You know, you've got office locations. You know, with that mentality, you know, and your willingness to be or offer remote working, I mean, the world must be your oyster, really. I mean, you must be able to just go and cherry pick the best talent from anywhere. Does remote working present better opportunities for you, challenges, or do you not see any changes because of the way you've done it previously?
No, I think it will help us, definitely. So we were looking at other locations, etc., recruiting teams. We've got a whole of United Kingdom client base. Yeah. So expanding to other locations to have core locations, so that, you know, you can't expect everybody to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning in North Yorkshire to be down on the Cornwall coast to be doing a client case. So you've got to accept that other people want a life. They don't all behave as crazy as the founder does. So having some of the other locations was great, I think, but that hub and spoke model and being able to recruit faster and wider talent pools and people that do want to be trusted, that they will work to an outcome and they will get a result for a client and not be a slave to 6-minute units and working like traditional law firms do. Certainly we want to shout a little bit about our model and explain, well, you know, to your point, if you're good enough, you're good enough. You don't need huge offices and infrastructure and things like that. Come and join our agile model. And actually, we're not going to micromanage. Yeah, we work to a client's need and a client outcome. Yeah, of course, we've got measures and things like that. So show what we did, how we did it, evidence things and what have you. But we're a business that's very focused on a client and a client's outcome. So if that means that you want to have 3 afternoons off, 2 mornings off, if you want to do Zumba classes, if you've got disabled children as well, like me, etc., you can start having that trust and that flexibility to manage your days, manage your family, manage your own health, your carers' needs. But you will work and you will hit a deadline to get a client need. So if you want to work 3 days and you've got all of your client needs done and you've hit your outcome measures, which means then you can have the following 2 days off, we're going to trust you. Either trust the people that you work with or you don't. Yeah. So I'm quite happy to trust them. And then if they breach the trust, that's where there's got to be consequences. Yeah. But work to the client outcome, become part of the team that's focused on that and away from the micromanaging. I think there's huge opportunities for us to attract talent and for people to come in at all parts of the model, whether it's in the technology teams, whether it's in the training and consultancy teams, whether it's in the legal teams, any part of the business, marketing, media. You can come in and you'll find that, yeah, you can start to take more control of your life and your destiny. Yeah. Be part of a great team that achieves great things, but work to those outcomes. I hated the models of the law firms that I worked in, where you had to have 6-minute units and 7.5 hours minimum logged every moment of every single day, etc. kind of thing. No, that's not. I don't like working that way.
So we've talked a lot about actually the people side of your business, and what a fantastic culture that you've developed, and your vision of bringing people into your business is fantastic. People clearly want to know about the business, what in terms of what you do. I mean, it may be obvious to some, but not all parts of your business, especially the tech and the other functions of your business. But for lawyers, it might be obvious. But so give us an idea of why your business is unique and what problems you solve for your customers. What are they demanding most from you right now?
It's confidence. If I summed it up in one word, we only provide support and services to businesses, organisations. Okay. Now that can be a sole trader, or it can be a PLC multi-jurisdictional business. But basically, my skill set and then what the business has been built around is, as I touched on right at the start, I know the rules. Yeah, know the compliance and regulations, know the criminal code, the regulatory code, the risk management. After 30 years of tribunals and court cases and post-mortems and investigations, and having prosecuted, investigated, defended here and in other countries, it's given me a really good grounding in that businesses don't want to be in courtrooms and trouble. Yeah, but nobody is giving them the shaped knowledge that they need if they are running a care home. What are the core rules, the must-have knowledge sets of running a care home? I don't care about all law. I don't care about all insurance. I don't care about the vastness of regulation and compliance. Can somebody please just help shape those rules, those regulations for me for running a care home? And is it a single-site care home, a multi-site care home? It could be a florist, it could be a hairdresser's, it could be an accountancy practice, it could be a manufacturing plant. But the thing that I've unwaveringly found in my career is people don't know what they don't know, so they're looking for knowledge, and the right knowledge for the kind of way that they want to run their organisation. Yeah, they're not going to be academics and book lawyers and find out everything that I've known, so the professing comes in, be a sharer. Yeah. So they want knowledge. They need to know how to navigate that knowledge. So they need to be able to create their profile and get some learning paths to help them look good in front of their own staff and talk to their own people. Say, no, this is our governance. These are our rules. These are our compliance. And they're not going to stifle and kill us. They're actually going to enable us because we now know how we're supposed to do it safely and carefully and get on and do the good stuff. So it's knowledge, creating a profile and a learning path. Yeah, so they know how to apply it. Then we created Grace, which is our talking technology tool, which then is an app-based solution, which then says to the company, and by the way, you don't have to do this in spreadsheets and Excels and Toolbox and all the old way. Here's an artificial intelligence created resource where we've put that knowledge, created it with a profile for your business with workflows of how to use it. We've now put it in a talking, plain English, intelligent lawyer that you can ask simple questions to and get the advice back. And then the fourth thing that I found out that people need is no matter how well supported and advised, if Doreen over the weekend finds out that one of her children might have cancer, you could forgive her on a Monday for forgetting to press a button on a production line the right way, and then a consequence that something breaks or somebody loses some fingers. Yeah. And then, so it's also, when it does go wrong, being there fast, smart, to be able to support, give confidence, because that's a frightening circumstance. Yeah, officers in uniform, consequences, ambulances, hospitals, people saying you did it wrong, I'm going to, prosecute you. Clever people, that's an incredibly intimidating environment. They don't know how to cope with it. So being there fast and smart to manage the scene, find out the problem, protect and look after in the right way and get the best results and the learnings from that. So what we're all about is creating the right knowledge, delivering it in the right way, helping you use it, interpret it, iterate it. And if you do have a bump, we're not going to leave you hanging. We'll come and fix it, show you the learning, put you back up again and help you to move forward. So that's what I mean by being business focused. So the tech simply allows us to take that knowledge and put it inside the client and start working with them seamlessly, interacting every day, because they don't know how the tech works as much as they don't know how the law works. Yeah. So we just bring the two together and combine it, and you say, you don't want to know how the tech works, you don't want to know how the law works. If you ask a question though, how do I deal with a performance management meeting for this group of members? if you get it wrong, there's significant consequences. So just ask Grace and she'll tell you. And actually, she'll give you the document and the workflow so that suddenly, great, now I know how to do it. I'm not frightened. Am I getting this wrong? Shall I do it? Shall I do it? People avoid it when they're not confident. So that's what I mean about just give people confidence, show them the way.
I think, you know, really, really powerful. I mean, you know, what a great service that you're offering. And, you know, for people that are working with you, I can understand how they would buy into the purpose and what they're trying, you know, the problems they're trying to solve with your customers. I think that's fantastic. And I have to ask it, well, Grace, where's the name come? What do you call it, Grace?
Grace is the name of my youngest daughter.
Oh,
so
okay.
An incredible, challenging spirit, full of energy, full of life. And she's got that why, and I want to do this and what have you type attitude. So when I was thinking about what to name the resource, it's got to be Grace. It's got to be Grace. But I'll tell you one simple aside, which was my eldest daughter is Olivia.
Okay.
And when we were talking about Grace and iterating it, and I was playing with it, she sat down at the end of the bed one night and she said to me, Dad, can I just ask you one thing before I go to bed? I said, yeah. She says, why do you call it Grace? And I thought, oh, no. And I said to her, well, can you remember the house rules? And she says, what do you mean the house rules? I said, what's house rules? Oh, now I get it. She says, youngest first. The eldest always looks after the little one, so it's youngest first. So I said, I've started from that. And she says, does that mean that you're going to name something Daniel before you name it Olivia then? So, because she's got a younger brother that's in between as well. So I know I've got to name something Daniel and something Olivia in the business as well. But I like personalising things. You know, a business is important. It's personal to me. So it meant something. And I didn't want just a generic name. I wanted something that resonated, that means something, and it's got a purpose behind it.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you for that. We've covered a lot, and keen to finish off with a quick fire round where I asked everybody the same sort of questions at the end. So for people listening to this, people that are looking, you know, interested in joining the organisation, what does leadership mean to you?
I suppose we've touched upon it. Trying to keep your self-awareness so that when you're talking and communicating externally as well as internally within the business, that you keep the passion, you keep the belief, and you don't lose the drive for your vision. But you recognise people work at different paces. People have got a lot on their minds with the pandemic and stresses and problems at the moment. So self-awareness, keep the thirst for learning, but don't quit. Yeah. And that's where the confidence of leadership does need to be there for people.
Yeah.
So, and be willing to learn how to do that in a remote world still for quite a few months to come, I think. So still keeping on doing it at distance rather than being able to get groups of people together and interact with a little bit more spontaneity. I've still got to be tolerant that you book time and you do it structured now, digitally through a screen. I want to get back to that, some of that spontaneity and creative, open, chaotic workshops and things like that we do. I do miss those.
Great, thanks. And for other business leaders, legal tech leaders in this space, what piece of advice would you give them navigating this period?
Trust your people. Yeah, invest in the team. Don't try to hold too much to yourself and be the solver of every problem, the communicator of every key decision. Actually, let go more and let your people breathe. Let them talk to each other, run themselves, and come to a common language, a common understanding of which teams want to talk on a Monday, which teams want to talk on a Wednesday, frequency, etc. Let them find their way through these different challenges, etc. We have invested very much as well centrally with trying to communicate out to understand everybody's individual carer needs, transport needs, anxieties over public transport, ages of children, what's happening in their schools, locations and things like that. So let your staff talk to you. Be open, be accessible, but don't be too controlling and too centralised. Although it might be counterintuitive, because everything's remote, let the remote thrive and let the different parts of the business find their language, find their way, communicate and talk, and trust your leaders as much as you trust the staff. Because when they're communicating between each other, lots more good stuff happens. If you're the bottleneck and you're trying to control everything, you're going to fall over.
Fantastic. Gary, that has been really insightful, really, really interesting in terms of, your leadership style, what your business does, and I've no doubt the future successes that are due to come. And I wish you every success for the future. And if you're listening to this and you are interested in joining a fast-growing legal tech firm with Gary's leadership style, then I encourage you to get in touch immediately. Gary, thanks very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you very much indeed. I've enjoyed the chat. Passionate about the business, so it's not difficult for me to talk about it. So hopefully I haven't talked too long. But no, I've enjoyed it. If I can help you, or if anybody wants to get in touch through you about any support or advice or anything like that, whether it's through the business or just for a chat for another founder to a founder, I'd be delighted to help where I can.
Love that. Thanks very much.